Okay, so welcome back to the Zoom room, Francis. Glad you could make it, and John, for another live session. So just going to have a look at today's email. Give me a moment just to get the live stream going, and then I'll share my screen with you. Okay, so make that a bit bigger. And okay. Yeah, so let me know when you can see the screen. Francis, if you can read that headline quote for us, please.
Okay. In the name of God, stop a moment, cease your work, look around you.
Yeah, very simple, by Leo Tolstoy, a 19th century Russian writer, regarded by many as one of the greatest authors of all time. And he's just saying, stop, pause, rest, stop your work for a moment, just look around in a state of awareness. Stop a moment, cease your work, look around you. Is a call to just have some awareness in the busyness of our lives. So if you're in the UK, August is traditionally a holiday time. Most people take a break, so it's probably the best advice anyone could give you over the next couple of weeks. Okay, well, take some time to rest, to relax, reflect on life without having the pressures of work and a hectic daily schedule to distract you from it. Because then ultimately these are just nothing more than ego devices, keeping your attention focused on the world and not on God, which is the perfect oneness or pure formless awareness, which is still your true identity that whispers softly but continuously to you. You want to read that little poem?
Remember me, remember your home, follow me alone, and I will lead you home.
Very simple, but this is what the course and this Art of Letting Go program are teaching us. To just remember to follow the one guide, follow that alone, and go home to this state of peace and stillness. So the miraculous thing about stillness and rest, but not only do they connect you directly with your source, but they're also a beautiful breeding ground for inspired ideas. It can profoundly change what you do in life, and even more importantly, how you do it. So you just never know when an inspired idea that will completely rock your world can come. But one thing's for certain: if you're so busy, your mind is stressed and overworked, then there's no room for these ideas. And then you block these inspired ideas from coming. Keep yourself trapped in the ego's extremely limited and limiting ways of existing and functioning. So sometimes the best thing you can do is take an extended holiday, because it just refreshes the mind. It connects you with your spirit. You open your mind to new ideas, creative input. If you're more rested, you're more relaxed. You're in a state where the Holy Spirit can now speak to you more. You open the communication channels. So holiday is holy day. That's the root word. It's the holy day. So it's the day where you're supposed to come into peace and stillness and that quietness of mind. So busyness, stress, overwork are a choice, albeit not always a conscious one, to let the ego run your life. One of the best ways to interrupt the pattern of the self-imposed bondage is to retreat from the demands of your daily life from time to time, immerse yourself in spiritual practices that regenerate, rejuvenate, and restore your mind and body. That's what the Art of Letting Go program is about. Recommends you do, whatever you can. Give you a whole detailed daily program in every email. So you pick out of that what you can do, and actually do it. So do some meditations. You join live calls. I'd encourage you to try and do the breath breaks frequently, because those just top you up. So you don't sort of go out of the state of flow. You just keep coming back into it through practicing those breath breaks. And so all these spiritual practices are incorporated into your daily life, is to reinforce your true identity or self-concept, which is like the operating system of a computer or mobile phone that underlies all the other programs or apps. So we know if a computer or phone's operating system is faulty, it's going to corrupt and cause all kinds of other problems with the apps, because it's the fundamental, it's the foundation on which everything else runs. So in the same way, your default operating system, it's the ego, being the belief in separation. All the beliefs or programs that run your life will be dysfunctional, and so will their results in every aspect of your life. So you have to be, very aware, which operating system am I using, because that's critical. If you find yourself in the ego, then you make the choice to let it go, and therefore that's how you switch operating systems. Letting go is the way that you switch from the one operating system to another, and you literally revenue yourself from the false world of the ego into the true world, the real world, as he calls it, of the Holy Spirit. It's now interpreting everything for you. So this true identity of self, Yeshua calls the Christ in the Course in Miracles. It's been called your Buddha nature in Buddhist teachings, and Atman in Hinduism. It's symbolized here in this Holy Trinity. It's kind of the bridge, it's the intermediary between the one reality and the other. So this is the absolute transcendent reality of perfect love, pure formless awareness of perfect love. There's no opposite. And then you have this kind of intermediary self, true self, or Christ, called the Son of God in the Course. Sometimes called soul, extension, the Buddha nature, the Atman. That's a Hindu saying for the same idea for soul, and higher awareness would be the New Age term. Higher self, higher awareness. These are all names for the same thing. And so this becomes the intermediary, the bridge between this absolute, infinite, eternal reality and this world of space and time, which is dualistic. Somewhere in between, this sits as your true self. And which is what we're referring to here. So when you live through this, you've upgraded all the other beliefs and areas of your life miraculously. So they begin to work in harmony. You have a far happier, more flowing, more purposeful, more peaceful experience in life. Okay, and that brings us to the session today. So yeah, any thoughts, comments, or questions on any of that?
No, it's all fine, John.
Okay, so that leads us nicely into lesson. There's a past discussion there on yesterday's lesson. If you want to read that, want to listen to that, what is the name of God and how can it help us? And then today's is really a continuation on the same theme. Yesterday's was the name of God is, what was yesterday's? Let me just bring it up. Yeah, I call upon God's name and on my own. So I call on perfect love's identity and on my own. And then today's is the name of God is my inheritance. And my inheritance is the identity of perfect love. Inheritance is the identity of perfect love. Okay, so let's have a look at the lesson then. Let's find this. Lesson 184. Okay, so this is lesson 184. So John, if you can read that in the original and the alternative form as the key idea, and then first paragraph, please.
The name of God is my inheritance, or my inheritance is the identity of perfect love.
Okay.
You live by symbols.
Do it in the alternative, I think. Isn't much other than the personalization. Isn't much to translate.
I live by symbols. I have made up names for everything I see. Each one becomes a separate entity identified by its own name. In this way, I carve it out of unity. I designate its special attributes through this process and set it off from other things by emphasizing the space surrounding it. I create this space between all things to which I give a different name. All events in space and time and all bodies I greet by name.
Okay. What's he saying there? In summary.
Well, he's saying that we, in this illusory world, we put names on things and identify ourselves through what we think is our possession or relationship to these things.
And carve them out of unity. So by giving things a name, we create separation. We say, well, that's discrete. That's its own thing. That's its own entity. And we've done that with everything. So we look at all the objects and the people around us. And we go, okay, well, that's that and that's that. And because it's got a name, then in our minds, it must be real. And this is how the ego system works. To perpetuate separation. Okay, so any questions on number one? Francis, you okay with that? Otherwise, we'll move to number two.
Yeah.
Okay, so number two in the alternative.
This space I see as setting off all things from one another is the means by which the world's perception is achieved. As I see something where nothing is, and see nothing where there is really unity, a space between all things and between all things and me. So do I think that I haven't given life in separation, that I have given life in separation. Although this split, I think I am established as a unity which functions as an independent will.
Yeah, with an independent will. Okay, so what's he saying here in summary?
I don't know, everything is mixed up with the perception. I see something where nothing is and see nothing where there's really unity. So I see the wrong things.
Yeah. So I'm seeing separation. You know, my body's senses, particularly the visual sense, but it applies to all of them, emphasizes the space between things, doesn't it? So, okay, well, I focus on that. So that person, that object, and then we name it. So we've invented language to name these things and make them discrete and make them real in our mind. So the moment you've named something, it's reality for you. And then I think I'm established as a unity which functions with an independent will.
Yeah.
So the ego's mind tries to create some kind of unity within the construct of separation. So I have an independent will of everyone else. You know, it's my own will, and I can make choices and I can make decisions. And what I seek to do is, through my independent will, to make my life better. However that happens to look. But actually, I'm just delusional. To realize that you have no independent will. There is no independent self. So how can you make an independent self better? How can you really do that? The independent self is bound by the laws of separation, which are the laws of death. So nothing within that construct is going to work. It's ultimately going to lead to death. This is the fundamental teaching of the Holy Spirit. But he's telling us how this plays out, how separation through our perception, misperceptions, is entrenched in our mind. Okay, so number two making sense?
I think so. So you're saying we don't have an independent, or he's saying that we don't have an independent will. So our free will, all that we have taught about, like, oh, we've gotten free will, we have this independent will. We don't really, like, we have formed that concept that we've been given independent will or free will, when in reality we don't, because our will is always God's will. Or that our will is always to, I suppose it's true when you think about it, because if we make the wrong choices or don't take the lessons, we're given the same lessons on repeat until we make a different choice. So it's not really free will.
Yeah, exactly. The ego has told you that having your own life in separation is free.
Yeah.
And Yeshua's saying that's not free will at all. It's a delusion. And actually you're enslaved by your own decision.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not free at all. You're the only free will, where you're truly free, is when you're in a state of pure formless awareness, of perfect love, which is one with God. That's when you're truly free. So no, yeah, the non-dual teaching is that there is no separate will. There is no independent will. There is no such thing as free will. There is only God's will. Translated, that means there's only pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Okay.
It makes sense?
Yeah.
So free will, again, reinterpretation, is only free when you are in pure formless awareness of perfect love. That is free will. But that's a different concept entirely from the ego's definition of free will, which says free will is the is the ability to make my own decisions.
Yeah.
But is that really free? Because in any decision, you have an alternative, don't you? You have a choice between two or more options. Ultimately, they boil down to two. So how free is your will then when you have to choose?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not free at all. Maybe the choice you seem to have to make was, or one of the choices was created by the ego.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you see that. True free will is a freedom to be who we really are. And this is what the Course is teaching us. It's saying your true free will is to merge with your source and become one with it, and let that awareness be your awareness. The ego is going to tell you that's imprisonment and that's death, because it has to defend itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Happy with number 3. Something number 2. Let's move on then to number 3. So I wonder if you can read that for us, please.
What are these names by which the world becomes a series of discrete events, of things ununified and of bodies kept apart, holding bits of mind as separate awareness? I gave these names to them, establishing perception as I want perception to be. I gave the nameless things names, and so gave them reality as well. What I name is given meaning, and I then perceive it as meaningful, a cause of true effect, with consequence inherent in itself. So it's saying here that we created our illusory world by putting names on things, and in process of so doing, made the world apparently meaningful to ourselves.
Hmm. Yeah, so we invent it. It's a world of make believe. Yeah. Then we perceive it as outside of ourselves, and then in our perception we give it names. Say, well, now we've got names for these discrete events and things, which makes the projection seemingly real, which establishes perception as I want it to be. Gave the nameless things names, and so gave them reality as well. For what I name is given meaning, and I then perceive it as meaningful. Cause of true effect, with consequence inherent in itself. And yeah, just saying a good example of this. Think of the COVID-19 pandemic. But if they hadn't named it, they just said, well, it's just a virus, but we won't call it anything. It's just a strain of flu or something. Would it have been anything like as powerful in our minds? Probably not. But as soon as they named it, they said, okay, now we give it its own unique name. It's called COVID-19 and the coronavirus. And then it becomes real in our minds. Now we can focus on it, we can talk about it, and all of that perpetuates the reality of it in our minds. So then it starts to exist in our minds, in consciousness. And of course, as long as it has a home there, then it will continue to seemingly have effects, the cause of true effect, consequence inherent in itself. Okay, well then, because of that belief, people now seem to get sick from this. But it's all a construct of the mind, which can be changed if one chooses to. This is the encouraging lesson of Yeshua. Okay, any other thoughts on comments, questions on paragraph 3? No? All right, so let's go to number 4 then. Francis, if you can read that. And the alternative, please.
This is the way I make reality by partial perception, purposefully set against the given truth. Its enemy is wholeness. It conceives of little things and looks upon them, and a lack of space, a sense of unity or vision that perceives differently, becomes the threat which it must overcome, conflict with, and deny.
Yeah, what's he saying in that one?
I don't know.
Okay, no idea at all.
I don't know. The text just seems to be going way over my head today.
Okay. Oh, well, let's look at it carefully. So this is the way I make reality, by partial perception. Right, so I've got this partial perception going on, and that's really set against the truth. This partial perception is not whole perception. It's not whole in its outlook. So its enemy is wholeness, he's saying. So the opposite of partial is whole. And so this partial perception conceives of little things and looks upon them. And we'll say perceives them and perceives them. So we conceive of it on one level of our mind, and then we perceive it as outside of us. This is the way that this whole mechanism of illusion is made up. We conceive of it and then we project it out. Now we seemingly see it outside of ourselves, and then we perceive it as reality based on the same thought system that conceived it in the first place. You see how it works. So projection makes perception, is what he's saying. It's going to be that diagram. So we have a thought system going on, a belief in separation that underpins our beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. And what we do is we project out from those the core belief of who we think we are, and that goes into the morphic field, as Shadrach calls it, or the quantum field, as scientists would call it, which then seems to bring you certain experiences. That brings sensory data into your perception. So that's like the raw material. But then without mind training, all you do is you interpret it from the same basis. You interpret it from the same basis as you projected it. So the projection perception is just a setup. It's a closed loop system by this ego to convince you that it's real. And around you go until something breaks it, interrupts the pattern. So this is what the mind training, spiritual practice is about, interrupting the default pattern of the ego. Yeah, is that clear?
Okay.
And then a lack of space, a sense of unity or vision that perceives differently become the threats which it must overcome, conflict with, and deny. Okay, so this partial perception that believes in separation thinks that unity, the vision that perceives something different, perceives more holistically, is now an enemy. And will do its best to try and keep you away from it. Okay, do you want to have a go at maybe summarizing that now? Explain in your own words. Francis, you with us?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Um. Okay, so we see half of the picture. We see our perception of something, and then we put truth towards it. But if we've seen the wholeness, then half the picture would just disappear. If we could see the wholeness. So its enemy is wholeness. So if we actually seen or perceived or stepped into the wholeness, then the conflict and stuff that we're in by seeing the partial reality would just fall away.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a decision. What this is indicating here, this levels of mind diagram, is that in the end it becomes a decision in our minds. The miracle is the decision for oneness, decision that you want unity. You want oneness rather than separation. And that decision is going to ripple up through your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions, into your perceptions. And so it underpins your entire perceptual world. And it comes down to a decision. Do I want unity or do I want separation? Those are the choices. So you can make a choice at any point for unity, and that must change your beliefs, your thoughts, and your emotions, and then your perceptions, because perception is underpinned by emotion, thought, and belief. All of that's underpinned by a desire. What do you want? What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want to experience? That's what the desire of prayer and heart is. Okay, so well done on that. So if you just kind of break it down, it's actually quite straightforward. This course is not difficult. It's pretty simple concepts, but sometimes it just requires a bit of deconstructing of it. Okay, so number 5. John, do you want to?
Yeah.
Yet does
this other vision, yet this other vision still remains a natural direction for my mind to channel its perception. It is hard to teach my mind 1,000 alien names and thousands more. Yet I believe this is what learning means. It's one essential goal by which communication is achieved and concepts can be meaningfully shared. So we're saying here that when we operate from our small mind, our individual mind, we get obsessed with going down all sorts of different learning routes, thinking that we are expanding our awareness and extending our communication, but actually we are just merely adding to the information overload and noise.
Yeah. Knowledge in this world is seen as, well, the more facts you know, the more knowledge you have about worldly stuff, this is considered valuable. This is considered knowledge. So 1,000 alien names. If you study any branch of so-called knowledge, it's language, it's names, it's concepts, it's ideas, and you've got to learn all this stuff. And then we call this education in our world. We say, well, this is you're upskilling yourself, you're getting educated, this is valuable. And in worldly terms, people then often use this knowledge to earn a living and to engage in work and business activities. So it all seems to be, valid, valuable, meaningful. But what he's pointing us to is a reality completely beyond that, where there's no need to learn all this stuff because you're just perfectly at one with your source, and there is no separation, no separate ideas, and all these 1,000 alien names and thousands more simply don't exist. In oneness, oneness is oneness is oneness. There's nothing else. There's nothing else to name. And then there's one essential goal, which communication is achieved. Concepts can be meaningfully shared. So it's a misinterpretation of what our essential goal is. Ego says learn all these different names, and that's education. That's getting ahead in the world. But the Holy Spirit says no. Just let that all go and learn. The one thing you've got to learn is who you are, which is unified with God or our source. So you have to learn what the source is, and you have to learn that not just intellectually, but spiritually and experientially. It's a different ballgame, really. So he's saying that this whole awareness, whole perception is a natural direction for the mind to channel its perception. It's actually quite hard, which is why we struggle on. There's a lot of stress in our world, because it's actually quite hard for our minds to learn this separation thought system. It actually goes against our nature, goes against the grain. So that's why we experience the stressing, straining, and striving. All right. Up here with number 5. Francis, number 6. If you can read that, please, in the alternative.
This is the sum of the inheritance the word bestows, and everyone who learns to think that it is so accepts the signs and symbols and asserts the world is real. It is for this they stand. They leave no doubt that what is named is there. It can be seen. It is anticipated. What denies that it is true is just illusion. What denies that it is true is just illusion. For it is the ultimate reality. To question it is madness. To accept its presence is proof of sanity. Okay.
Okay, so what's he saying there?
Okay, so it's like so I'm trying to get my head into it. So we see everything as signs and symbols, and we've named everything, and because we've named everything, it creates the separation. And it is saying that that we've accepted this, and that shows us that our world is real because we accept these things. We accept that a table is a table, or my phone is my phone, is a phone, and because it's a phone, it does certain things. Okay, so that's where I am in my head at the moment.
Hmm.
It is for this to stand, and they leave no doubt what is named is there. So because I've named my phone, like I can see it here, it's like right in front of me.
Hmm.
And if I chose not to accept that, then I'm crazy, because everybody else in the world accepts it as true. So if I am like, no, that's not true, then I'll be seen as crazy.
Hmm.
Is that right? To accept,
Hmm.
question it is madness. So it's like the people who question these things are seen, it's just, to me it just seems like the world is just upside down, really, isn't it? Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's saying like the world is just crazy, that everything we believe to be true isn't true, and everything that we believe, you know, because the mass of people say like, this is the truth, this is the reality, and if you question the masses, then you're seen as the mad one, even though you're the
Even though you're the sane one. Yeah. So this is how it goes in the insane asylum. If this is truly a prison for the insane, as Yeshua tells us, then if you're sane, or you're waking up to sanity, and you start questioning, the images on the wall. So it goes back to the allegory of the cave, 2,500 years ago. That allegory was what very, very still absolutely valid in today's world. Because most people live in the prison of the cave, but they don't know it's a prison because it looks quite okay. You're in your house and you've got a reasonable level of wealth if you're living in a sort of advanced country, and you've got phones and gadgets, and you've got all kinds of technology that helps you, and this doesn't seem to be a prison. And so then someone comes along and says, well, are you sure your phone's even there? Are you sure that everything you see here is actually even exists? And they go, this person's crazy. Which was shown quite clearly in that allegory of the cave, because Socrates he was the one awakening, questioned the reality of the images on the cave wall. Well, now it's images on the movie screen. Now we have screens. It's not on the cave wall. It's on the digital screens, and this is a 4-dimensional movie house. So you've got the 3 dimensions of space, seemingly separate things and create things are seemingly apart in your perception. And then you've got time, which is the 4th dimension. So things have to unfold in space over time to make sense. And so you have discrete events. Oh, well, that happened, and then that happened, and now you have cause and effect. Okay, well, that seemed to cause that. And you have a sequence of events strung together called linear time in space. And all of that is the construct of the Matrix. When Morpheus says, you haven't watched the movie, you watch it and you've got a chance. He says the Matrix is all around you. It's in the everything you see. It's in the taxes you pay. It's in the air you breathe. It's everywhere. So this is the virtual reality show, and you're living in it. Your image, your body is an image in the virtual reality show. So you're playing now the part of the character, but it's a very realistic virtual reality show because you think you're in it, because you have a body, and now you're a character in the show. You're not just watching it. Stepping back from identifying with the character and being able to observe it is the first step in awakening, isn't it? Because then you go, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm not the character, and I can just observe what my character and what other characters are doing from some kind of higher awareness. Now you're stepping out of the dream, and that's why all these generally spiritual practices involve some kind of awareness. Okay, just start to become aware of your thoughts, start to become aware of what's going on in your body, start to become aware of your breath. Because that awareness cultivates a detachment from the dream. So you no longer believe that you are just the dream character. You can actually let that go and find the ultimate, ultimate reality. So he's actually making reference to the cave analogy here, subtly, because he talks about prisoners and so on. So he's referencing that, because he obviously knows about the cave allegory of Plato, and saying, well, nothing's really changed. Still, if you believe the world is real, then you are a prisoner in the cave by your own choosing. But you could turn around and make the decision to leave that behind and start looking elsewhere. Okay, so any other thoughts on that? But yeah, I mean, well summarized. We're getting it. So it is upside down. We live in a virtual reality world, the matrix. And if you question it, you are seen by most people as insane because they believe in it. And the fundamental dogma of this world, the sort of worldview or religion, if you like, is scientific materialism, which really says that the external world, the world that your body perceives, your body senses show you, it's what you can hear, see, feel, touch, taste, and smell. That's reality. That's what the scientific materialist paradigm says. And it says anyone who questions that is a heretic and is insane. This is completely the opposite of that. It says, well, actually, it's not reality. This whole external world is an illusion. Reality lies in your own mind. And so you must let go of all of your belief in this in order to find this, the truth of who you really are. Make sense from the integral model perspective? And so you'll see if someone is a materialist, let's say a hardcore scientist, and they just believe in the material world, and someone is very spiritual and connected with this domain, they're poles apart. The scientists will say, you're mad, like it's all woo-woo and you've kind of lost the plot and it's just fantasy. And for this, on this side, you'll say, well, actually, you're the one who's in illusion. You believed in a false projection of your mind, and you've enslaved yourself to that by denying the internal reality, which is where your true awareness lies. You very basically deny that you even have a mind. The extreme of the scientific materialist paradigm, why they struggle to explain what consciousness is. Well, if you deny that there is even consciousness, then how can you possibly change it? This is the ego's cunning plan. Okay, deny there's even a mind, and then it's not possible to change your mind if you don't even have one. And so it's just a defense against the truth. Okay, so I'll summarize there. So number 7, such as the teaching of the world. Number 7, yeah. John, if you can read that.
Such is the teaching of the world. It is a phase of learning everyone who comes must go through. Soon I perceive on what it rests, how questionable are its premises, and how doubtful its results, the sooner do I question its effects. Learning that stops with what the world tries to teach me stops short of meaning. In its proper place, it serves only as a starting point from which another kind of learning can begin. A new perception can be gained, and all the arbitrary names the belief in separation has made up can be withdrawn as they are raised to doubt.
Okay, what's he saying there?
So it's saying that what we've been talking about is very much the teaching of the illusory world, and the sooner we start to question its validity, the better, because the teachings of the illusion are an interesting place to start one's journey, but need to be let go of to move forward into what is an understanding of the more real, the real world.
Hmm. Yeah, so he's saying don't stop your learning at what the world tries to teach. Got to go beyond the world's teaching. Which, if you look at history, what every great spiritual teacher and great person did, they on some level transcended the world's thought system, which is what made them great. So the more they did that, the greater they are, because greatness comes from beyond this world. So Yeshua, who was, a great example of transcending the material world to the point where he overcame the death of his physical body. He'll go down as the greatest, certainly one of the greatest spiritual teachers and people in history, because of what he stood for, because he stood for the transcendent. That is what's truly important and meaningful. Okay, so and then he says, well, this will lead you to questioning, ultimately letting go of the arbitrary names, because they are pretty arbitrary. It's just language. People go, oh, well, that, the name describes the thing, but that's just not the case. As he says, that names, words, are symbols twice removed from reality. So if it's about anything in form, it's a symbol. That word is a symbol. The word's a symbol of a symbol. The image is a symbol. All right. Happy with that one? Any questions? We'll move on to number 8.
I will not think that I made the world. Illusions, yes. Only what is true in earth and the state of pure formless awareness is beyond my naming. When I call upon anyone, it is to their bodies that I appeal. Their true identity is hidden from me by what I believe they really are. Yeah, true. Their body responds to what I call them, for their mind consents to take the name I give them as their own. So their unity is twice denied, for I perceive them as separate from me, and they accept the separate name as theirs. Okay, yeah. For their unity is denied twice.
Mm.
Okay. So, okay. So I will not think that I made the world. Illusions, yes. So I make illusions. I make my own illusions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all saying that, like, everything that we name everything in this world, but when you're in true formless awareness, it can't be named. It can only be understood maybe experientially. It can't be expressed in words. It can't be expressed in labels or names or those kind of things, because that would just make it denser, maybe. So that's what it's saying there. And then the other part of it is funny for me. When I call upon anyone, it is to their body that I appeal. Their true identity is hidden from me by what I believe that they are, which is true. It's like other people show you they show you the mirror. They're like a mirror. So if you see anger in them, that's what they're going to show you. If you say, oh, this person's really angry, and every time you see them, you see that trait in them. So I think it's like, and then we don't see the anger in ourselves, because if we didn't have anger in us, we wouldn't see it in other people. So it's like, so that's the separation. We're separating ourselves from people by saying like they're angry, instead of being like I'm angry, and then they show us angry. So it's like, so that's their unity, that's their separation being denied, because they live up to that expectation.
Yeah. Well, and you're reading a lot into this, which is good, because that's what he's talking about. But on a simple level, he's just saying, well, I name them. I name someone. I say, okay, well, you're Francis, and my name is Jono, and you accept the name as yours. I deny it. I deny unity, because I say, well, you have a separate name, so you must be separate from me, and you accept it, and so you deny it as well. And this is how deep-seated separation is in our society. It's the fundamental belief that governs so much of what we think is real and what we do. From naming, well, I mean, you say, well, yeah, everyone has to have a name. Yes, one does, but don't mistake the name for truth. Don't think that that's who you are, because that's the mistake we make. We grow up thinking that we are Francis or Jono or John or whoever, because that's the name we got given. But that's not the case. You aren't that. You're way beyond that. Just that name. So it's about going beyond the naming into the but what you said about the anger also is very valid. So I see it in others. Not wanting to see it in myself, but actually it's in me. I must have it in me in order to perceive it in them. If I see it as outside of me, that's them who's angry, then I'm denying my unity. If I accept that it's just a projection of my own mind, then I'm accepting that I'm responsible for it, which starts to correct the belief that there's anything outside of me.
Yeah.
Makes one realize that it's not outside of me, and that on some level, not the obvious level, but on some level, you're responsible for all of it. The highest level. We look at this diagram. Whatever happens after the idea of separation, you are responsible for. If you are responsible for the idea of separation, you see that. That's your choice. You made a conscious choice to throw heaven away, pure form, source of perfect love, and believe in separation. And be responsible for all of it, whatever seems to happen. So someone has slighted you, someone has hurt you down here on the level of form in your individual self, and you're now having a relationship with some other person, it's all tracking back to that seminal moment where you decided, yes, I want to be a separate self. So you're responsible for that situation, because without the decision to separate, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
They're just trying to, indicate just how deep-seated the ego's thought system is, so that we can understand it and then be more vigilant. You're living in this matrix that's constructed for us out of the belief in separation, and within its thought system, it seems to hold, and it seems to be sane to believe in insanity. Because insanity has become the default now, and oneness has been denied. You can't see oneness. All right, so we'll move on to number 10. No, we done number 9? Indeed, no, number 9. John's just dropped out. Okay, so Francis, if you can read number 9.
It would indeed be strange if I were asked to go beyond all symbols of the world, forgetting them forever. Yet we're asked to take a teaching function. I need to use the symbols of the world for a while, but I am not deceived by them as well. They do not stand for anything at all, but in my practicing, it is this thought that will release me from them. Okay, yeah. It becomes a means by which I can communicate in ways the world can understand, but which I recognize is not unity where true communication can be found. Yeah, so it's basically saying that the symbols and stuff and the thought system of the world, to kind of use it instead of it using you, to see it for what it is and use it. It's like, what is it? Use the mind instead of the mind using you, that way you having control over, to get to a place where, yes, you can name it, you can put it into a bundle, and then you can use it for your benefit instead of being associated with it, to not even understand what's going on and just to be caught up in the middle of it, to kind of come away from it, and then you can use it how you want to use it.
Yeah, so there's a conscious choice of how you're going to perceive the world, what you're going to think, and just recognizing that you can still engage in it, but without believing in its ultimate reality. This is the art of letting go. Can I engage in the world and let go, so I'm not attached to any of it, but I can still use the symbols? Because how can you function in the world without the symbols? It's virtually impossible. He said it would indeed be strange if you're asked to go beyond all symbols, forgetting them forever, and yet we're asked to take a teaching function. How would that work? You need the symbols to teach. So words are symbols. You need words to teach with. Ideas, concepts, beliefs, these are all symbols. But they're being used now for the only purpose they have, which is your awakening. That's the key thing. One single purpose. use all the symbols of the world for one purpose, which is to wake up from the world and transcend them. And then you can walk in the world, you can engage in it, you can use the symbol, but you use them consciously. You're in the world, as Yeshua put, you're in the world, but not of the world. The world doesn't govern you. You know, you sit above in higher awareness, and you can observe all the things of the world, and you can even engage in them. So, you know, so you can still lead a, you know, reasonably normal life. You can go and you can do things, and you can work, and you can earn money, and you can have a family. But the difference is that you don't believe in the ultimate reality of any of it. You recognize that, you know, only the unconditional love is there. And nothing else. Right, any other thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that's it. That's all I have. I think you added to it nicely. Yeah.
So it's just that, you know, being in the world but not of the world. And that's really what we've been trained to do as the students of Yeshua.
Yeah.
Who lived it. You know, he lived this. He showed us by his example. Okay, he was in the world for a while, but he wasn't of the world. And he used the symbols of the world. So he taught and he used words, and he engaged with his companions in a very meaningful, kind, compassionate way that made a difference to them. So he used the symbols of the world, but he used the symbols to try and free their minds from their belief in the world. Okay, so that's clear. Shall we go on to number 10?
And so what I need are intervals each day in which the learning of the world becomes a transitory phase, a prison from which I go into the sunlight of pure formless awareness and forget limited awareness for a while. In this stage, I understand the message and the identity of your pure formless awareness of perfect love has given me. The one identity which all things share, the one knowledge of what is true, and the step back to limited awareness, not because I think it's real, but only to proclaim its unreality in terms which still have meaning in the world that are limited awareness rules. And then step back into limited awareness.
So what's he saying there?
It's just the mind training, really, just to step out of the limitations of the world and come back into pure formless awareness. So this book, meditation, whatever you do to escape the limits and to come back into the knowing that you are pure formless awareness. You just have to do that at different intervals during the day. And then when you come back into the real world, you can step back in, and it's not that you're going to think it's real, but it's just to show others that the world is meaningless.
Yeah. So to be a teacher of God, that's what you have to do. You understand it's unreal, but you engage in it for a while to teach others that it's unreal, and help them understand that and free their minds. And you use the symbols that are seemingly real to them.
Yeah.
So you can talk about the illusions of the world. You can use words. You can use language. But it's all designed to help them to understand that none of it's true, none of it's real, and to let go of their attachment to it all. Because why are you attached to it if it's not real? Attached to an illusion. So it's calling us here to, to a function of teaching, this becoming a teacher of God or minister of God, and being one of the sane ones in an insane world. That's awakening. Any thoughts on that? Further thoughts? Or happy to go on?
Yeah, I'm happy to go on. Yeah. Okay, I use all the little names and symbols which delegate delineate the world of limited awareness.
I think maybe we should make that. Define.
Okay, which define the world of limited awareness. Yet I do not accept them as my reality. The remembrance of perfect love uses all of them, but it does not forget extension has one name, one meaning, and a single source which unifies all things within itself. I use all names the world bestows on them only for convenience. I use all the names the world bestows on them only for convenience. Yet I do not forget they share the identity of perfect love along with me. Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's just saying that I can use all these things. I use them for the convenience to connect with people, to show people the way or whatever, but just don't attach to any of them. Just keep your attachment on what's real and what you feel is true, on the remembrance of perfect love, and just keep your, keep the
Yeah. Finish.
keep that
You
as your
finished?
reality. Yeah, keep that as the reality.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite practical, this course. So though he's saying, none of it's real, he's saying, okay, well, it'd be very strange if you were asked to take a teaching function and operate in this world for a while and not use any of these symbols. Virtually impossible. So some of the the great mystics and so on, they really just check out of it. They don't engage very much in it. They're in pure formless awareness of perfect love, and they just stay there for most of their lives. And they're not engaging very much in this world of duality, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And ultimately, they'll attain their enlightenment. But he's asking us to be, I think in the Buddhist concept, they have the bodhisattva. So you're going to go and you're going to help people. You're going to be part of teaching this message to the world, and in teaching it to others, you teach it to yourself. And this is how you learn it more thoroughly.
Yeah.
So we can. There's a purpose here for us. Our job here is to extend and express this identity of perfect love in and through our words, our actions, and let our lives be a testimony to that love, so that people see it through us, and then they accept it for themselves, and they go on this profound healing journey for themselves. And that's our function. That's your calling or your function in this world. So then you have a purpose. See, this gives you a purpose. It's your special function. It can be quite inspiring. It's proactive. You can do stuff, but it's now being governed by the Holy Spirit. So it's part of the plan of the one, not the ego's plan. So it feels inspiring. It feels uplifting. It adds value to others and to you. But you're being truly helpful in the world. Okay, so makes sense. Let's move on then to number 12.
Pure formless awareness of perfect love has no name, and yet its name becomes the final lesson that all things are one. And when I have learned this lesson, my learning ends. All names are unified and all space is filled with truth's reflection. Every gap is closed and separation healed. The identity of perfect love is the inheritance it gave to those who chose the teachings of the world to replace. The identity of love, perfect inheritance, is gave to those who chose the teaching of the world to replace the state of pure formless awareness. In my practicing, my purpose is to let my mind accept what love, pure formless awareness of perfect love, has given as the answer to the pitiful inheritance I made as a fitting tribute to the extension it loves. Okay.
Yeah, so what's he saying there? Just God is pure formless awareness of perfect love. Sun is the extension. Heaven is the state of pure formless awareness.
Okay.
So you know what the translations are.
Yeah, so he's okay, so it's God has no name, like pure formless awareness, perfect love has no name. And yet the name that we've given it because if we believe we are God and everything is God, then that ceases the separation in itself. It's like I am no different, or my table is no different than God. God is in everything. Pure formless awareness is in everything. Then all the spaces are filled because the separation begins to close, like when you truly believe that, like when there is no doubt left in your mind. The separation starts to heal. Okay, so it's like
separation starts to heal when you start questioning
the
ego system. So you might still have some doubts, but there's a process, and it's completely healed when there's no doubting. It's like that only union is true, only pure formless oneness and perfect love is true, and this world is completely, it's an illusion, it's valueless, it's meaningless to you. That's the final healed state where you're ready for God to take the final step. You probably won't last very much longer in the dream world at that point, because why would you stay?
Yeah.
So it's a process of correcting our perception systematically and progressively. And you will have doubts along the way. He acknowledges that, but he keeps reminding us of the simple truth, saying we'll keep coming back to this. Whenever you return your mind back to the simple truth, then you're home again. You found your way back from the ego's illusions. So you're saying you got this. You can do this. I'll help you You can do this. You can live practically and functionally and be truly helpful in the dream world while you awaken fully to reality. And then he's saying in this one, accept this true identity as your inheritance. That it's quite like the inheritance idea, because it's always there. This is what you've inherited, and you just haven't been aware of it. It's like a lost inheritance. Inheritance has been waiting for an heir to claim it for decades. That's the case, because it really works, but you have to accept it. Any other thoughts on number 12?
No, it's good.
It is very good. He's giving us an answer to the conundrum of living in this world, saying, you can escape it ultimately, but while you're here, you can accept this grace and you can live by it. You can be in the world, but not of the world. So the thought system of the world doesn't need to govern you while you're here.
Yeah.
You can live according to another thought system of perfect love. Okay, so number 13.
No one can fail who seeks the meaning of the identity of perfect love. Experience must come to supplement the word. But first, I must accept the identity for all reality and realize that many names I give it aspects have distorted what I see, but have not inherited the truth at all. I bring one identity into practicing. I use one identity to unify my perception. Okay.
Yeah. What's he saying there?
Okay, so I am thinking, okay, so it's like experience must come to supplement the word. So it's like there's different, it's like what there's different teachings, or like we cannot fail, which is very reassuring if we are seeking, if we are on this path and we're seeking the truth and we're seeking the identity of perfect love, we can't fail. And there's a lot of different teachings in the world, so it's like there's a lot of ways to, a lot of paths to follow, I would say. Like, there's the yoga way, or there's this way, or there's this teaching, the Course of Miracles. So there's a lot of different paths that have different names associated with them. Like, this is a Course of Miracles, and then there's other paths as well. So it's like all these names, we think like, oh, this is the pathway, this is the way that I'm going to find. And like, people would think like A Course in Miracles is, and they'd have their concepts of what it is. And yet it's like, come away from all those distortions of what you think it is, and just there's a truth underneath each of them. So no matter what path you follow, there's truth in that, and it's all going to bring you to the one place.
Yeah, I said in yesterday's email that a universal theology is impossible. But a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary.
Yeah.
And so it's that universal experience we're going for. And across all the different spiritual paths and traditions, that universal experience is uncannily similar. They describe it in very, very similar ways. Across hundreds, thousands of years even, and different spiritual traditions, and very, very similar. The mystic experience at its highest level is seemingly quite universal, which then indicates that it's not about dogma, it's not about the theology, it's not about what you call God, because God has no name.
Yeah.
The idea that we can kind of box
Yeah.
the infinite into some kind of name and form is a blasphemy. That's like, how can you do that? It's infinite and eternal. How can you name it and define it and make it into just another concept in your mind? It's way beyond that. It's infinite, eternal awareness, which is ultimately just experienced. The God has no name in that experience. It's just an experience of that awareness. You don't need to name it. In fact, as soon as you do name it, you have a problem, because now there's something going on in the mind that's separating you from that experience, from that awareness. As soon as you name it, well, who's naming it? Now you have subject-object duality coming. So I pray to God, I worship God, and I've named it. I, separate self, now worship the other entity, which I call God. You see, it's duality in our minds. This path collapses it all into a singular universal experience where you know experientially, knowledge is, I know that I am that I am. I am that presence. I am that awareness. It's not that's somewhere outside of me and I need to name it. I go, God's over there. No, it's my own true nature. It's my own fundamental awareness, expressed in the first name of God that was given in the Bible in Exodus, which I talked about yesterday. I am that I am, said this presence to Moses when he asked, well, who are you? I am that I am. I am what I am. I am that I am. So I'm your very own nature, your true awareness. That's what that presence said to him. Not I'm some great super being outside of you. No, I am your most innermost awareness. And that is the mystic truth underlying all these paths. They all point to the same thing. The highest level, they have the same awareness. It's the journey within to find the truth of who you are, which is God within you. It's not outside of you. Realize the many names collapse into one identity. That I am that I am presence is the one identity, the true self that he's talking about. And whether you attain that through A Course in Miracles or Buddhism or Sufism or Advaita Vedanta or any other path, it's the same. It's the same awareness. That's the universal experience that he's pointing to. It goes beyond dogma. But minds who are not there then get caught up in the dogma. So they attach to the names and the forms and they make it important. It's like, well, my forms are better than yours. My name for God is the true one, and yours is the false one. I mean, it's ridiculous. Both are false. None of them are true.
Yeah.
So the mystics get this, but not everyone does. Because you have to have the experience to get it. The universal experience that he's pointing us to, and that comes with practice. which is why he's saying practice, 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 practice these lessons, practice the meditations. Read the course, read the text, because that practice is what will reveal the mystic experience, the universal experience to you. And then you don't just think about the truth. You don't just understand intellectually. You know that it's true. And that's what knowledge is. You just know.
Yeah.
I am that I am. And there is no other.
Yeah.
And I'm not confused by any appearances to the contrary. I don't let those sway me, because I realize they're just part of the illusion. They are deliberately put there by the ego to tempt me not to believe in this universal awareness, to deny it. And once you understand the game, it's the rules of the game, it's quite easy to play it. And so this is what he's doing with the course and miracles for us. He's saying this is how the ego works. This is actually how the system works that you seemingly caught up in. And so now you understand it, you can play the game with much more awareness. Be in the world, but not of the world. Use the symbols, use the names, but use them for the one single purpose, which is the awakening to this universal experience of truth for yourself and for everyone. At-one-ment encompasses everyone. So then you become an agent of the at-one-ment in this world, as all the great spiritual teachers and masters have been. And you join them as teachers of God. And the ego says, well, who am I to be like Yeshua or the Buddha? Who are you not to be? As Marion Williams says, your playing small doesn't serve the world. Nothing enlightened about shrinking. So that other people won't feel insecure around you. Because we're all meant to shine, just as little children do. We're born to manifest this glory within us into the world, to express it. And it's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let that glory, that radiance shine through us, so we accept it for ourselves, we overcome our own fear. And so our presence automatically liberates us and others. That's a paraphrase of the quote, but it's powerful stuff. So he's saying to us, accept this truth, the one identity of who you are, and then you teach it. You teach it through your example, through your presence to others. You become a teacher of God, which is your only function. Your true function, special function is to teach this path to others, teach the way out of the matrix to those who are willing to listen and follow it. Okay. 14.
14. Okay. And though I use a different name for each awareness of an aspect of the extension of perfect love, I understand that they have only one identity, which it is given them. It is this identity I use in practicing. And though I use, and through its use, all foolish separations disappear, which kept me blind. And I am given strength to see beyond them. Now my perception is blessed with blessings that I can give as I have received them. Nice. Yeah.
So what's he saying there?
It's just practicing with the mind training and the practicing and being in the space and holding that space of perfect love's awareness, until it's, the more you practice, the more it becomes your ultimate reality, the ultimate truth. Like it just it's not a concept anymore. It's like this is actually the truth. Stops being a concept, or it stops being a thought, or it just becomes like your knowing, your ultimate reality, and all the foolish separations just disappear, like, because there can't be separation when there is the truth. And then we believe it, when your perception is blessed, when you know the truth, you can teach. It's like you can teach, or you can give easier, because you know it's true. You come from a different place.
Exactly. It's it's coming from your own experience, and that's what the great teachers do. They teach from experience, not from book learning. The difference between a theologian and a mystic is the mystic knows from their own experience. The theologian has studied, and they've been told, and they've learned the concepts and the ideas, and they can spend a lifetime just doing that, but they'll never know, because it's not in their own experience. Yeah, there's a difference. Did you ever watch The Chosen? You watched some of that series?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So you remember Nicodemus? He's the Jewish rabbi.
Yeah.
Who's supposedly he's the spiritual guy, right? He's the top of his the top of the structure of the Sanhedrin, or whatever they were called, and yet he knows in his own heart that he doesn't know very much, because it's all book. He's studied the Torah, and he knows it, and it's like, well, actually, I don't really know. And then along comes Yeshua, who really knows, and he's fascinated with the guy. He's like, how do you know? How do you how do you do the things you do? It's clearly another level beyond what he has knowledge of. And that's the difference between the theologian and the mystic. The mystic knows from experience and speaks from that experience, and that comes through in his or her words very powerfully. That's why Yeshua was such a great teacher, because he spoke from his own experience, and he was able to frame it in a way that people could understand. He could tell parables that helped them to understand what he had this deep, intuitive understanding. He could only communicate so much. At the highest level, his disciples didn't really understand what he was teaching, because it was his own experience, and they would have had to have the same experience to understand it. But he did the best he could with the limitations of language to try and communicate his experience in language to others, and help them to get some of that experience and accept it for themselves. But again, what happened, was theologians got hold of it, and people who have more of a conceptual understanding start getting hold of his teachings, and then go, okay, well, let's formalize them, and let's create a dogma, and now we have a structure to go with it, and a hierarchy. And so the Christian church evolved, and it had really very little to do with what he understood and what he originally taught, because he was trying to teach us what he knew and understood. He was saying, you can be as I am. He even says it so clearly in the Bible. It doesn't say, never says worship me. I'm not the only son of God. But he never said that. Not once did he say, I'm the only son of God. That was entirely a misinterpretation. He said, in fact, you shall do these things. You have exactly the same power as I do. You'll do these things that I've done, and even greater things. It's hardly someone who's saying worship, saying, no, you'll become like me, emulate me. And his words echo down the ages. It wasn't just for that generation. timeless. So for us now, you become as me, and you'll do even greater things. I mean, look at the power we now have for communication technology and so on. It's extraordinary. So why couldn't this become this world teaching? The second coming of Christ is now with this this teaching of his true teachings of the Course in Miracles coming into the world to create an awakening on a much bigger scale. And it requires people like us, you, me, and other people who are studying it to be their agents of it. And that becomes your special function in the world. Now you have a true purpose, an authentic purpose in this world, to awaken yourself and to help others to awaken. And that gives you the inspiration to walk the path and follow your hero's journey, no matter where it takes you. Because that is a true and authentic purpose. It's not nothing to do with the ego's motivations. Does that all make sense and gel together for you?
Yeah.
And so I'm given the strength to see beyond these foolish misperceptions and to see the truth and to see how blessed I really am. That we're very lucky to have this teaching, to have a master teacher like Yeshua, who's actually given us a course to study. Like a spiritual master, he's actually written it down, and it's a very systematic, disciplined process that he's taking us through. That hasn't happened in human history before. No, none of these masters leave courses behind for us, do they? Well, it's taken him 2,000 years, but he's written. He said, okay, there's a course to help you train your mind to attain the same state as I attain. And I know it works because I've done it. I've walked the path before you. So I'm your way show. I'm your example. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The only way to the Father is through me. He didn't mean worship me. Yeah, that's the misinterpretation. He meant follow the same way as I followed. Become like me. I'm just your example. Become like me. Not worship me, but that's then of course the ego comes in and tries to dumb that down because it doesn't want people becoming like Yeshua and attaining the Christ, understanding it experientially. It wants them to still be enslaved to a little self. And so it's quite happy if you worship something, because then you're less than them. But that's a blasphemy. He never said worship, worship. He said become like me. And you don't even worship God because you become God. And again, the theologians and the people who are fundamentalist religious say that's blasphemy. No, what they're doing is blasphemy. To worship a God outside of you is blasphemous because that's not what God is. And that's not what the great teachers like Yeshua taught us. They all say God is within you. And God within you wants to be known by you and accepted by you as your own awareness. And when you deny that awareness, then you are blasphemous. That's the blasphemy of the ego. It denies that awareness is yours and arrogantly says, no, I have another awareness which I prefer. Okay, monologue over, sorry, but that was the Holy Spirit coming through. So, Father, our name is yours. Do you want to read this in the original and then in the alternative?
Okay. Father, our name is yours. In it, we are united with all living beings. You who are one creator. What we made and call by many different names is but a shadow we have tried to cast upon our own reality. And we are glad and thankful we were wrong. All our mistakes we give to you, that we may be absolved from all effects and error seems to have. And we accept the truth you give in place of every one of them. Your name is our salvation and escape from what we made. Your name unites us in the oneness, which our inheritance and peace, which is our inheritance and peace. Amen. Okay.
And then the alternative.
My source, my identity is yours. In it, I am unified with all sentient beings, and you who are their one source. What I made and called by many different names is just a shadow I have tried to cast across your own reality. And I am glad and thankful I was wrong. I give all my mistakes to you so that I may be absolved from all effects my errors seem to have. And I accept the truth you give in place of every one of them. Your identity is my awakening and escape from what I made. Your identity unites us in the oneness, which is our inheritance and peace. And so it is.
Lovely prayer to finish that. So done a little summary of this personalized executive summary. We'll read that and then we can do a meditation on it if you like.
Okay. I live by symbols, naming everything I see and treating everything as separate entities, carving each thing out of unity. This space I see creates my perception of the world, giving life to separation and leading me to believe that I am a unity with independent will. These names I give establish my perception and reality, for they give meaning to what I name, yet they oppose wholeness and true unity.
Okay, let's pause there. So all good, understand that. What's he saying there?
Yeah, it's just a summary, isn't it? It's the same really as what we've just been talking about, really.
The key thing is that don't believe that you're separate and that all these things are separate entities that are outside of you. Because that's the way the world works doesn't mean it's correct. It means it's an illusion. So it requires quite a strong mind. You've got to be able to resist the pressure of the group madness. It's like the group insanity. Everyone's insane, and everyone said, well, we must be wrong because everyone's insane. It must be correct. And the great masters and teachers come and say, no, you're actually completely wrong. The masses are wrong, and I'm right, even though I'm one person. To have the courage to do that is quite something. So this is part of the mind training, is to teach us to stand firm in the truth and hold to the truth, even though the mass psychology says you're crazy, you're insane.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenge on the path is peer pressure.
Yeah.
It's your own, especially close friends, family. Go like, what do you believe? No, and this is how the ego works. This is how it enslaves us into its thought system, because everyone becomes the jailer. If you step outside of that box, then they go, oh, what's happening to Frances? She's weird, strange. You don't want anything to do with her. She's got these strange ideas of the world and so on. And so most people, will get controlled by that. They don't want to upset the apple cart and rock the boat. And so they don't necessarily express those opinions, or they don't explore this, these ideas in their mind. They start questioning reality. It takes, the heroes of this world are the ones who have the courage to say, I'm not bound by the perceptions of my society and of my community. I'm able to see beyond them transcend them and go outside of all that and have my own experience, which I can bring back to my tribe now as an enriched experience, which can contribute to that tribe in a unique way to help others to awaken to the truth. And that's what the spiritual masters have done throughout the ages.
Yeah.
In days gone by, in the traditional societies, which you saw demonstrated in Avatar, the shamans were the most important person in the tribe, because they symbolized that the spiritual identity, the Christ self, and so they were revered. They were at the center of the tribe because they held the knowledge of the eternal with them. And of course, in our modern society, that's largely been disposed of. We no longer have the shaman at the center of anything. The shamans are seen as weird and strange, and these are the ones often end up in mental asylums and stuff because they have strange visions, and these must be stopped, suppressed, because we don't want anything outside of the scientific materialist paradigm to come in. Okay, so number 2, I believe learning means teaching.
I believe learning means teaching my mind thousands of names, but this learning stops short of true meaning. The world teaches that questioning this system is madness and accepting it is sanity. But I realize that this learning serves only as a starting point for the new perception, one that can challenge my belief in separation. Yeah, so it's like the teachings of the world can only get you so far, really. They only get you to your starting point, really, and then you.
And the starting point is always start questioning.
Yeah.
And the awakening starts with the questioning of the status quo. Okay, well, maybe why is it like this? Why does it have to be this way? Usually a dissatisfaction with the status quo. Saying, well, I'm not that happy with the way the world is, and starting to question, well, why is it like this? And maybe a yearning to change it. So, well, maybe the world could be a better place. This is how it starts. And, you progress. The starting point, that's the starting point for a completely new perception, is a discontent with the old one. So I'm not happy with that. So therefore I seek for something else. And this is how you start challenging the belief in separation. Those who don't want to do that, they suppress these urges. The calls to adventure that I talked about in the hero's journey, all of that just gets denied. They don't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So when there's a call, I go, oh no, don't leave the safe, normal world. There be dragons. Don't go into the unknown. And there'll be people who warn you. Oh no, you don't want to go and do that. Don't go and do Wim Hof. That's weird and strange and anything out of the ordinary. They try and keep you back into their, what there's their little box of the world. And they try and hold you to that because that makes them feel safe. And that they're right, and therefore, you're wrong. The ego's right and the spirit's wrong. So it requires some courage to say, no, I've got to walk my journey, because if I don't, I remain a prisoner. I stay a prisoner my whole life of a thought system that is untrue, and a part of my mind knows that. And if I continue doing that, how can I expect to be happy and peaceful? So at some point, we've all got to take this journey. So just as he says at the beginning of the course in the introduction, when you take it, the curriculum is set, but when you take the journey is up to you. That's your decision. Yes, you can choose to listen to the call, or you can deny it, and you can remain in your little illusory world until at some point you will change. Everyone, maybe not in this lifetime, but everyone is going to leave that normal world at some point, because that's the plan. That's the one-man plan. Everyone has to awaken by divine design. Okay, so number 3, I understand I haven't made the world.
I understand that I haven't made the world, and what is true in earth and the state of pure formless awareness is beyond my naming. I must use symbols for a while, but I am not deceived by them. They become the means of communication in the world, but they are not the unity where true communication is found.
Yeah, what's he saying there?
That we still have to use the symbols, but use them in a certain way, use them without being attached to them, really. They're a way of communicating with the world. But I think maybe when you transcend all of that, there'd be different ways to communicate. So it's like true communication.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Words are a pretty primitive way of communicating. At the highest level, you communicate telepathically. Most people have lost that ability, and so words are useful for that reason. But they're just pointers, they're symbols that you can use to communicate what is beyond this world, in this world. Symbols twice removed from reality, of course, because it's, especially if it's a name of some form, a cup, let's say, that the cup, the word cup is a symbol of a symbol. This is another symbol. It's an image or a symbol in the dream. So symbols twice removed from reality, 2 levels of symbols. But in truth, there's no symbols. Truth is one. There's nothing symbolic in truth. So symbols imply separation, don't they? All right, so number 4, I need time each day.
And each day to step into the sunlight of pure formless awareness, understanding the one identity that all things share, proclaiming the unreality of limited awareness. I use the names and symbols of the world for convenience, but remember they share the identity of perfect love with me. It's just the same. It's just saying to come back into pure formless awareness, whatever way you choose, this training or meditation or the quietness, come into the stillness that surrounds you, really.
Time each day. So this is a call to spiritual practice. You need to practice where you step out of the cave. Again, cave analogy. You step into the sunlight, as in the cave analogy. You step out of the cave into the sunlight. It's blinded. It's like, wow, this is amazing. A whole different reality. And we can do that frequently in the day. Leave the world of images behind and go within into this inner light, this inner awareness that is very peaceful, very calm, very tranquil. That it's always available for us. Understanding the one identity all things share, and the unreality of limited awareness. So the teacher, having gone into the sunlight, comes back and says, okay, well, I can talk to you about the symbols on the cave wall because I have a deeper understanding. I don't believe they're reality. but you believe they're real. So, okay, we can talk about them. But now my words are designed to undo your belief in them so that you can look beyond them and experience this sunlight that I've experienced. And those who are addicted to the symbols in the dream on the cave wall will resist that. As is recorded in the allegory, that they actually attacked and hurt the teacher, Socrates, because they didn't want to know the truth. They didn't want to be told that the images are all false. Their entire reality was false, and they were dreaming. They wanted to believe in the reality of the dream. So then, in typical ego fashion, kill the messenger. We don't like the message, so kill the messenger, and that will destroy the truth, which is not true. Truth can't be destroyed, but it denies it. It's just another denial mechanism. Instead of listening, you can carry on in the denial. Okay. Next one.
I choose to return to
No,
my.
just stop one.
Oh, are we here? Okay. Pure formless awareness of perfect love has no name, and its identity becomes the final lesson. Through practicing with this identity, foolish separations disappear, and I am given the strength to see beyond them. My identity is unified with all sentient beings in its oneness, and I gladly give all my mistakes to the source. I accept the truth in place of my errors. This identity unites us in our inheritance and our peace.
Mm.
Yeah, it's definitely where I want to go. I want to be united with all sentient beings, to be in the oneness, to just to it's definitely something that drives me and what I want to experience. So suppose if I want it, then it's going to happen. If I seek it, then I'll find it.
Exactly.
That is the path that I'm on.
Let me check this. Accept the truth. So this was from although it's relevant. It's that was from a previous one. So just delete that. Well, you can read it. Read it. That was from a previous summary. It's still good. And then I'll delete it.
Well, the next one, I choose to return to. I choose to return to my true self and let go of my defenses and illusions. I accept that I haven't lost my eternal innocence, and the longing I feel is a call that I cannot deny longer. By letting go of my defenselessness, judgments, and attack thoughts, and embracing my defensiveness, I can follow the path of awakening and finding lasting peace of mind.
From a previous lesson, but still valid. And then the key message is just like in one paragraph, summarizing the whole thing.
I name and separate things, believing in the reality defined by symbols. I realize this approach limits true understanding, and I seek pure formless awareness. I use symbols temporarily, but strive for an identity that unites all in perfect love. My goal is oneness, recognizing the truth beyond names. Yeah, it is my goal. It is. It's what I search for, what I seek.
And so this just speaks to that true part of yourself that knows this is what you're here to do. This is why you're here. This
Yeah.
is the purpose of your life. And it's acknowledging it and just accepting it and saying, yes, and the more you repeat it, the more you start to become confident in that. You start to believe it. Say, yes, the thought system that Yesh is proposing here is the truth. This is something that, I can choose. I can accept this. I can choose to live my life this way, even though the world doesn't accept this. I have a choice, and people might perceive me to be different and strange, but so what? Because the one thing you can be sure of is that if you are accepted by the ego's thought system, you will never escape from this reality. That's the one thing you can be sure of. So ego acceptance means imprisonment and death. So, you have to understand that's the equation. You must challenge its thought system and its apparent dominance in order to awaken, which is why it's a hero's journey, because it requires some courage and chutzpah, as they say in what's that, Yiddish, I think. Chutzpah. It's like, you've got to have a little bit of like, okay, yes, I'm going to go for this. And I'm not just going to be a shrinking violet, and I'm not just going to follow the way the world dictates and fall into line, with what other people think, my family, friends, my society. I am the Christ. I am the awakened one. And it is my function in this world to bring the light in to the world and to show in this world of darkness, to demonstrate the light to others. That's why I'm here. And it's a call to our true self to really shine and take this awareness into the world by our example, by the way we live our lives, the way we interact with others, by the work we do, and he's calling us to step up to that. Saying you can still be in the world, use the symbols, but just don't be confused by them. Know that they're just symbols, and you're using them for a higher purpose. So although the course is non-dual, but he's ultimately saying leave the world, it's quite practical in what he's saying. Saying, well, that's not going to happen for a while. So while you're here, you can actually engage in the world in this way and be truly helpful to yourself and others in doing that. And that's what the mind training is upskilling you to do, to be able to walk the world as the Christ and really add value to others on this journey. Okay, so any other thoughts, comments, or questions on the lesson?
Good.
Yeah. Okay, so shall we finish off with a meditation on it? How does that sound?
Yep.
And then you probably have to go. There's some text to do, but I know you normally
I will
go at this time. So we'll finish with the meditation. Join us again, another time this week, or if you've got a credit, one credit for this month, so whenever you want to take it.
Okay.
Okay, so tomorrow I'm probably going to do an evening session, but I'll run another one probably on Thursday in the day, 12:30.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, so let's. Okay, so just make yourself comfortable. Sitting comfortably with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. Cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. And start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench the sphincter muscle. It's the muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. So you squeeze the energy up the spine. Feel it rising up into your heart center. Put one hand on the heart to connect with your heart space. Then draw it up into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Maximal inhale breath. So just scan your mind. Notice any thoughts, emotions, any related body sensations going on, particularly anything that feels limited, limiting, contracted, restricted in any way, shape, or form. Breathe into that, top yourself up with air again. And bring in this loving awareness. If there's any terror, so any fear, anxiety, or sheer terror, just breathe into that. Creating some space, which is the equivalent of awareness or light. And you imagine, if it helps you, that you're breathing in beautiful golden and white light into every pore and every cell, muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in the light of the truth. And no darkness, no limited awareness can exist in this state. So you say, today's lesson, the name of God is my inheritance, or identity of perfect love is my inheritance. The identity of perfect love is my inheritance, means that I am safe, I'm innocent, I'm whole and complete. So enter that state, blow out any illusions, but deny that, just letting them go. The breeze of your breath, they're going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And just rest in deep peace and stillness. For a few moments. So I'm going to read you personalized executive summary of this lesson 184. And just to read it after me. So speak it after me as an affirmation of the truth. So I'm going to speak as I do that. You breathe in through your nose, so it's a maximal inhale breath. Feel the stomach and the chest rising. You can squeeze the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. Draw it up the spine at your heart center. You know, hold the breath briefly as you listen to these words, and then when I've finished, I'll pause, and you speak them as you exhale. So I live by symbols, naming everything I see and treating everything as separate entities. And exhale. Exhale, speak those words. I live by symbols, naming everything I see and treating everything as separate entities. Breathing in again, carving each thing out of unity. And exhale again. Breathe in again. The space I see creates my perception of the world, giving life to separation. And then exhale. And leading me to believe that I'm a unity with independent world. Breathe in again. These names I give establish my perception and reality. Exhale as you speak those words aloud. Say them aloud, you affirm them. Start to become real to you. You affirm them. More meaningful, more impactful. It's just the idea that you learn them at a deeper level. Well, they give meaning to what I name. Perception and reality give meaning to what I name. Yet they oppose wholeness and true unity. Breathing in again. So I believe learning means teaching my mind thousands of names. And breathing in again. So I believe learning means teaching my mind thousands of names. Exhale as you speak those words. This learning stops short of true meaning. Exhale as you speak those words. The world teaches that questioning this thought system is madness, and accepting it is sanity. Breathe in again. And I realize that this learning serves only as a starting point for a new perception. One that can challenge my belief in separation. So this new learning can start from there. I understand that I haven't made the world. And what is true in earth and the state of pure formless awareness is beyond my naming. And breathing in to the beginning of each sentence, just do the breathing, the holding, and the exhaling automatically now. And you're in time. Time it so that you breathe in as I speak, and then When I pause, you exhale and you speak the words. Breathing in, so I must use symbols for a while. And exhale as you speak the words, breathe in again. But I am not deceived by them. It becomes a means of communication in the world. But they are not the unity where true communication is found. I need time each day. I must use symbols for a while, but I'm not deceived by them. They become a means of communication in the world. But they are not the unity where true communication is found. I will find true communication. So I need time each day. To step into the sunlight of pure formless awareness. Understanding the one identity. That all things share. And proclaiming the unreality of limited awareness. I use the names and symbols of the world for convenience. But remember, they share the identity of perfect love with me. Breathing in again. The rhythm of the breath going, breathing in as I speak. You hold the breath briefly and then you exhale and speak the words as affirmations. So pure formless awareness of perfect love has no name. And its identity becomes the final lesson. Breathing in again. Through practicing with this identity, foolish separations disappear. I'm given strength to see beyond them. Breathe in again. My identity is united with all sentient beings in this oneness. And I gladly give all my mistakes to my source. I accept the truth in place of my errors. This identity unites us in our inheritance. which is peace. So the key message of the section, breathe in again, that I name and separate things, believing in a reality defined by symbols. I realize this belief limits my true understanding. And so I seek pure formless awareness. I use symbols temporarily, but strive for an identity. A universal experience that unites everyone in perfect love. The goal is to recognize the truth beyond names. Accepting this. As my ultimate reality. And so it is. So just sinking inwards. Going within to this reality. I use this prayer to help you do that, take you into this deep state of connection or this unity within you. Again, repeat the prayer after me. So my source, my identity is yours. In it, I'm united with all sentient beings. And you who are their one source. Just block out the noise, the dog barking, various machinery going, but it doesn't matter because you're going within. Just go beyond these illusions into the deep truth in your mind. What I made and call by many different names is just a shadow I've tried to cast across your own reality. And I'm glad and thankful I was wrong. I give all my mistakes to you so that I may be absolved from all effects my errors seem to have. And I accept the truth you give to replace every one of them. Your identity is my awakening, escape from what I made. Our identity unites us in the oneness. which is our inheritance, and peace. And so it is. Amen. And so just rest in this inheritance, a deeply peaceful, connected state that's always available to you. It's the truth of who you are, but often obscured. And surrender into this oneness. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. Surrender into state of oneness, which is your inheritance and source of peace for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe in and out through your nose. Watch the breath relax. The breath take you deeper and deeper in to your inheritance and peace. State of perfect oneness, pure fullness, awareness, perfect oneness is yours to claim right now in your own experience, the universal experience of truth, right now in your experience happening and arising the next couple of minutes of deep silence. So just surrender to that experience fully and completely for the next 2 minutes or so. So just gently coming back on this deep connected state to an awareness of your body and the breath, senses, and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Maximal inhale breath. You scan your mind. Notice any thoughts, emotions, related body sensations going on. Particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricted in any way. You breathe into that and you just going to let it go and release it. So you exhale it out, blow it all out with the breeze of your breath. And nothingness that it really is. It's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last two out. And you rest. And still calm, quiet, peaceful state of awareness. Count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling and touching with your hands. Maybe the subtle taste in your mouth, the smell in your nose. Notice what you're hearing, sort of environment. Just noticing all these things on this very still, calm and surrendered state. State of mind without illusions. State of mind in which showing the truth is true. So you're going to anchor this state in. Set the intention to stay here. Use today's lesson to just top you up and reconnect with this divine presence that hopefully you experienced quite deeply in the last half an hour or so. If you need to top yourself up, just listen to the short breath break I've sent you, or follow the instructions I'm giving you, Telegram or email message to practice the lesson under a minute. And that'll keep you connected to your source, in your inheritance, experiencing your true identity as one with your source, which is what I wish for you. And so it is. And now on the count of 3, open your eyes. So just take a moment to look around, just observing various objects in the room around you. Anything that catches your eye. Notice this awareness is underlying it. Close your eyes, notice the awareness still there. Open your eyes, same awareness. So you're starting to train your mind that this awareness is always there, because it's fundamental. It's the truth of who you are. It can never depart from you. God goes with you wherever you go, because God is in your mind. That's one of our early workbook lessons. So this awareness, pure formless awareness, is with you wherever you are, wherever you go, because it is your own true awareness. And that is the simple truth. So I hope you can stay connected and rooted in this awareness. Practice the lesson frequently. Yeshua recommends ideally every hour. Instructions I've given you, and stay connected to your source. So that brings us to the end of meditation and of the session. So thank you Francis, for joining, and hope to see you again soon. Namaste.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, have a lovely afternoon. All right, so thanks to everybody who joined, Francis and John, and anyone watching on the live stream or recording. If you'd like to join these sessions live, each one is a transformational experience. If you're in it, you get much more value than if you just watch the recording. So sign up for the next masterclass. I'll put the link below, and go register and join us for the next class on Sunday evening. I look forward to seeing you there. On the inside, you can also subscribe to the channel and sign up to receive daily inspirational quotes and really what I've communicated today in the email that you get and as a text message in Telegram. So if you like that, then sign up. Okay, so thank you for watching, and namaste. Which means the true identity in me, the true self in me, acknowledges and honors that same true self in you.